The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app.
Download now for free.
Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
Who said the summer was slow around Tennessee? As we are loaded up, we have Tennessee football start times, which is really, really neat because the new ESPN agreement has those start times set a little bit sooner than previously before, when we would have to wait for 12 or 6 days. The 6-day window is terrible. Craig Cobb, former Vol, will join us to talk about the College World Series. We'll have a complete list of Tennessee's official visitors this weekend. Could be one of the biggest weekends literally in school history. Where does this class stand? And we'll get a breakdown on some upcoming signings at Sports Treasure. So a lot going on. Stacey Oliver joins us now. She's been covering the Diamond Vols for us, but this is her first time actually on the show. She says she's nervous. You shouldn't be nervous.
I'm a little nervous.
All right. Well, here we go. You've been all about this Tennessee baseball team the entire season. You've covered them. You spent a lot of time around the Braves. As far as this baseball team, what have you learned? Because you started this season not knowing much about them, and then the season has kind of played out, and you've been on top of it. So what have you learned about this team? What's your big takeaway if you were telling somebody about this baseball team and they had never seen them before?
They can hit. I would say that is my biggest takeaway is this team can hit, and they can hit home runs, and they can score a lot of runs. Never count them out. And I know we don't talk about pitching as much as we do about the hitting, but they have the third lowest team ERA in all of college baseball right now. So, and they're firing at all cylinders. I mean, it's really complete, consistent team is how I would describe them.
Yep, I would agree with that. So check out Stacey's story on offthehooksports.com, and let's break it down now and go through some of the keys as the Vols enter the College World Series. That will be a Friday night start against Florida State. So let's go to 4 Downs, and it's brought to you by our friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas.
4 Downs brought to you by Dynasty Spas, the most comfortable spas made in the United States of America, right here in East Tennessee. Drop in for the all-new showroom in Athens. Dynasty Spas, perfect for all 4 seasons. 4 Downs, presented by Off the Hook Sports.
Somebody on the message board one time said, Stacey, that bubbling sound sounded like some other sort of device. I don't know what they were referring to, so we'll just just let that go. All right, let's go ahead and get to first down as we break down Tennessee's opening game against Florida State. Coop, what do we need to do?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
And what down?
Coop here. First down.
Thank you, Coop. Tennessee has a chip on their shoulder, Stacey, and I think that's pretty obvious. They've come up short in the College World Series. Now, how do you read that? Is that pressure, or is that good motivation?
I think it's good motivation. I mean, I think looking back on how many 1-seed teams actually won the College World Series, it's been 25 years since a 1-seed has won. That was 1999. Most of these kids weren't even born yet. So you have a target on your back, but at the same time, I think Coach Vitello said it best when he was in his post-game interview a few days ago, where he said, we're playing with house money. No one expects the number 1 seed to win. This is, just even looking at a team like Evansville, who kind of snuck in there and no one expected them to make it that far. He kind of looks at his team the same way. I mean, go out, have fun. Obviously you have a lot to play for. This is a solid team. This is on paper, this is the team that should win it all. But it doesn't happen that often. So, you have to go in there, it definitely motivates you, but, you go in there and have fun and yeah.
They have certainly got to stay out of the losers bracket. Let's take a look at Florida State. James Tibbs the third is their standout offensive weapon. Your thoughts on Tibbs?
Yeah, he's their Christian Moore. He's the ACC Player of the Year. He's got 28 home runs, almost 100 RBIs. He hit 3 home runs in their game against UConn on Saturday. Not 1, not 2, 3 home runs. And that is after a previous game where they had beat UConn 24-4. So he can hit, they can hit. If they can keep this guy in the ballpark off the base pads, then Tennessee has a really good chance.
And I do want to get to their pitching. I remind you, 4 Downs is brought to you by our friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas there in Athens. Just stop by, ask for a Celebrate 98 book or a t-shirt, and they will hook you up. Also, $500 off if you mention Off the Hook Sports. What you need to know, you have to know about Florida State's pitching next, brought to you by our good friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas. The best thing about Dynasty Pools and Spas is that they've got it all taken care of. What does that mean? Well, you stop by their showroom and check out their fantastic selection of top-notch spas in that showroom in Athens. Make your pick and get ready, because Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers within 125 miles of that location in Athens, that fantastic showroom. They've got the cover lift, steps, chemicals, and everything you need. Delivery at no extra charge. They're just down the road in Athens. You pick the spa you want, and it'll be there for you. Oftentimes discounted with military and first responders discounts. Also blemish models, or just mention Off the Hook Sports. That's Off the Hook Sports for $500 off. There's a discount for you on spas made right here in East Tennessee. Support local. Dynasty Pools and Spas also has the best chemicals for you and your spa and your pool. No fillers, just the chemicals made right here in East Tennessee. Support local. Dynasty Pools and Spas, $500 off if you mention Off the Hook Sports. $500 off if you mention Off the Hook Sports. Dynasty Pools and Spas, dynastypoolsandspas.com. All right, Stacey, so let's get back to Florida State. Stacey Oliver, nice enough to join us from Off the Hook Sports, as she's been covering Tennessee the entire season. Florida State, as with any team, didn't make it this far on hitting alone. Tell me about sophomore Jamie Arnold.
Yeah, he is a Golden Spikes he's a Golden Spikes nominee. He has 155 strikeouts this year, and he's had at least 5 games this season where he's had double digits in strikeouts, including one game he had last month against Pittsburgh where he struck out 17 hitters. So I don't know they haven't. I don't believe they've announced the pitching matchups yet, but I would be surprised if Tennessee doesn't face him.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I want to talk to Craig Cobb about this too, because some managers, coaches have the theory of let's pitch the best pitcher to stay out of the losers bracket, and then others say no, let's save the best pitcher for game 2, which could be an elimination game. So I'm interested to see. I don't know who Tennessee's going to pitch for sure. I'm sure both coaches know, but I like the gamesmanship. That's one of the things I like about the College World Series.
Yeah, that's a good thought about who they would pitch first. I mean, I'm assuming with Tennessee they've got the Stamos Causey duo that they've been doing on most Friday nights this season that seems to be working out really well. So I mean, if it's not broke, I wouldn't change anything. So I'll be interested to see if they make any changes, if Tennessee does, with the pitching side.
All right. Great stuff. Keep up the great work. She's Stacey Oliver. Coming up, Tennessee has their football schedule kind of sort of out. Stacey, are you ready to cover games this fall? Are we getting moving forward?
Definitely.
It gets pretty exciting. We certainly appreciate Stacey and her coverage of Tennessee baseball, and it's brought to you by our good friends at the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off. HOOK for 10% off. Give me less than 60 seconds. The show represented by Banks and Jones. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? Banks and Jones, T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. Oh, and my apologies. I had a little technical difficulty there. We're back. So anyway, we were talking about Tennessee with a new commitment, and we're going to get your answer on the poll question. The poll question is live now. How far does Tennessee make it in the College World Series? My apologies to you guys. There's a little bit technical difficulties. All right. I expect Vols to blank in the College World Series, lose early, win at least 2 games, finals, championship. I expect them to make the finals. I actually expect them. I'm picking them to win it all, but I think the finals would suffice as far as that should be something that should make Tennessee fans happy. So let me hear from you on the message board since I'm back now. What would make you particularly happy if they make the finals? Are you good with that? Do they have to do a little bit more? Now, we have breaking news. It's going to break into Tennessee baseball coverage, as I'm sure no one will complain. Tennessee has picked up a 4-star edge rusher coming off of his official visit. Jaden Lofton, this is being reported by Ryan Callahan, who was hopefully going to join us today, but now I know why, because he knew that a commitment might be coming down the pike. Lofton planned to take another pair of official visits this month and wait until sometime next month to announce his college decision. But after returning home from his official visit to Tennessee, he's good to go. That tells me Tennessee put a little bit of leverage on him, said it's either you or somebody else. He comes from New Jersey, which I think is slightly above average recruiting area. Not great. He chose Tennessee over Wisconsin, Penn State, and Syracuse. So let me tell you what I'm hearing about Lofton. He does need to continue to develop. And right now, he is 6'4.5", 240, 4-star across the board. He's rated as the number 12 prospect in New Jersey, the number 27 overall edge rusher, and right outside the top 300 at 344 nationally. So this is a very good edge rusher that Tennessee has been able to pick up, and I think it could lead to some momentum. When will that momentum kick in? Well, Tennessee is having one of its biggest recruiting weekends in literally the history of the school. So it could kick in this week. We could be talking about a situation where this commitment ends up in other commitments down the line. So let's get to the names that'll be on campus this weekend, and there will be more, and we'll update you as we go on, as we broadcast live at 10 a.m. Take 1 second for me if you don't mind. If you like these updates on official visitors, give me a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that, as we've got all kinds of prizes to give away to our subscribers. So please subscribe. It's free. Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler. Looking for an affordable game day jeweler? How about the Fire Opals? Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com. RickTerryJewelry.com. All right. Here are some names, I should say, that you want to be aware of. So Tennessee picks up the commitment in Lofton, and they are expected to bring in several more top prospects this upcoming weekend. Now, Tennessee finds itself in an incredible position because they are now a team that can win a championship, but still can offer early playing time at certain places. For instance, let's take the offensive line. There's some experience there. That's a championship type offensive line, in my opinion, but one injury. And if you're a really good freshman, really good freshman to play on the offensive line, you might get in there. If you look at Tennessee's roster, there are opportunities down the line. In 2025, they're going to be looking for about 4 defense or offensive linemen, Secondary, same thing. So I think there are a lot of factors that go into this entire class. Now, to get to the class and go ahead and break them down, we want to go ahead and throw that out there as Dylan. Nice enough to say Lofton is solid, but he plays a really low level in high school. Looks like a grown man playing against middle schoolers. I agree with that, Dylan. I got to be honest with you. I'm not blown away by this commitment, even though he's a 4-star edge rusher, but I will say it's solid. It feels like to me, and this is speculation, but it feels like to me that you're talking about a player that has to continue to develop, or he's going to end up at a Wisconsin, or he's going to end up at a Penn State, a school that doesn't place as much of an emphasis on speed, basically. I mean, that's what we're talking about. The thing that concerns me, too, about Lofton, just to be real honest with you, is he came off of his Wisconsin visit, and he said it was like the most amazing visit ever. And it sounded almost like he was going to commit to the Badgers last week, and he didn't, and now he commits to Tennessee. So I'm just telling you, my little red flag is up a little bit. Is this guy one that's going to stick long term? Now, maybe there's an NIL contract, and that's how they're able to pull that off. But commitments can still bounce, and I want to see where this guy is. Let's get to that list of guys that'll be in campus, and it'll be brought to you by our good friend Medicare Misty.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
All right, so the Vols hosted their first official group of officials for the summer last weekend. It was a pretty small group, but the Vols will have several players in on this weekend. Let's start with 4-star cornerback Onis Kananbani, according to Ryan Callahan at 247 Sports. He's one of Tennessee's top cornerbacks and one of the top targets. He's coming off an official visit to North Carolina last weekend. If you have questions about any specific prospects, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I'll get to them. Florida State also thought to be a factor for Kananbani, who has a fantastic name. These names keep getting tougher and tougher. Has anybody noticed that? All right. Jaden Perlow, a longtime Georgia commitment from Buford. He's been quietly, heavily involved with Tennessee for months, according to Ryan Callahan, who I respect. That to me tells me that Tennessee may be in the running. Listen, in order for Tennessee to become a true national championship contender, they're going to have a year in which they smack down Georgia in recruiting. just like when they had in the mid-90s when they got Deion Grant, Jamal Lewis, and Cozy Coleman in one class, and the year before that they got Fred White. Those are what championship teams are built on. And Tennessee's going to have to do that with Georgia. Some more visitors as we continue to break down a monstrous list. Quality Tire Pro, the Eberle family, has been serving Chattanooga's community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brakes, alignments, oil changes, and more. All work is covered by a nationwide warranty. Cherokee Blvd or online. QualityTirePros.com, QualityTirePros.com. Stop by and say hello to Bo. Say, Off the Hook Sports sent me. Hey, Bo, how are you? You can do that. We greatly appreciate you saying hello. Support our sponsors. That's why we're here. 4-star defensive back, Lagonza Hayward. You've heard his name. A top 100 prospect from Lyons, Georgia. He has been one of Tennessee's top safety targets for months, but he's been on a pair of very noteworthy visits lately. Georgia, his official was May the 31st. South Carolina made the Gamecocks much more of a factor as he's coming off that visit. So Tennessee was thought to be the leader. Now I think this one, from what I'm being told, is very much up in the air. Look for Florida, who he'll visit next weekend as well. David Sanders Jr., 5-star offensive tackle, coming off his official visit to Georgia. He's the number 3 overall prospect in the 2025 class. It's the type of guys you gotta get eventually. His weekend in Athens went well, according to sources, and the Bulldogs still appear to be legitimate contenders going into his final 3 visits. So that'll be Tennessee, Ohio State, and Alabama. 4-star offensive lineman Nick Moore out of Jeff County. We'll get more on him when we visit with our good friend Spencer Riley, former Vol, who's the head coach at Jeff County. He's going to join us on Friday as Caleb Calhoun out this week. So we'll have several guest hosts that we've been looking forward to. Jimmy Himes will join us tomorrow. All right. So Trey Poteet, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa State. This seems to be absolutely wide open, but Tennessee has been referred to as his leader. We think Tennessee's the team to beat, but we shall see. Shekiah Mills-Knight is the running back, one of Tennessee's top in-state targets, but he has traveled to Alabama, took an official visit to Miami. So this one's a battle. And there will be an unofficial visit to Michigan that you need to be mindful of. He took that last week. According to, again, Ryan, Vols are going to try to make a move with Mills-Knight, with sources close to his recruitment believing they currently have some ground to make up with the Montreal native. Miami and Ole Miss currently believe to be the 2 main contenders. Defensive lineman Charles House out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Looks like he's down to Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. Looks like he could announce something on June the 22nd. So Tennessee will wouldn't put their best foot forward, needless to say, this weekend. 4-star tight end Deshaun Brom. It looks like a 3-team race, again, according to Ryan, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Oregon. So let me tell you what I'm hearing about these guys. I want to include also 4-star offensive lineman Dontrell Glover. Tennessee, Florida State thought to be the front runners, former Alabama commitment. This one's all over the place. Look for Georgia to make a serious run. So let me tell you what this weekend's all about. This weekend's all about offensive linemen. This Tennessee program needs to rebuild their offensive line. And I know we just talked about rebuilding a couple of years ago, but if you look at the starters on Tennessee's offensive line, they've got an awful lot to replace after this year, because Tennessee, quite frankly, missed out on a couple of guys along the way that didn't have the impact that they thought. So if you look at what Tennessee has this upcoming season, specifically on the offensive line, because I've been told this weekend is as much about offensive linemen as it is about anything else. Let me give you a rundown of the 2 deep as I see it. Now, the starters, I believe, are going to be Lance Hurd at left tackle, Cooper Mays center, Javonte Spraggins at right guard, and John Campbell at right tackle. Left guard, a little bit interesting there, as I think there's going to be a battle. You could see Jackson Lampley there is a possibility. The other guy that I would watch for is Bison Lang. I don't know that he's ready yet, but he's a lot closer than I thought he would be heading into year number 2. And, of course, there's Andre Couric. We'll wait and see what he's able to do. Another name to watch is Shamarad Umarov. I think that he is going to end up being a very good guard. Rather him be a tackle probably, but solid. Dane Davis will be your utility guy. Now, I tell you what, the thing that you have to remember about a lot of these guys is that they haven't played a lot. So Tennessee's offensive line stays healthy. They've got a major offensive line rebuild heading into next season. Portions of the program brought to you by our good friends at Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, daily update, Sports Treasures TN, Sports Treasures TN. We're going to be joined by Craig at Cobb here in just a moment. Always look forward to that, as the former Vol will give us his thoughts on the College World Series. Will Tennessee win it all? It's quite possible. Hang tight. This is a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
All-wheel drive, $31,954. 24 Ford Edge, all-wheel drive, $37,975. 24 F-250 4x4 Crew Cab, $54,760. Ray Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Ah, gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do, to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Welcome back. Craig Cobb joins us now. Off the Hook Sports.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
I never would have thought that my Shamarad Umarov note that I picked up would have gotten so much play on the message board. Dylan says should be starting at guard this year. You're right, he should. Should is an interesting word, though. I'm not sure that he's quite ready, but I think he will. I'll use the W word. I think he will be a solid starter by 2025. I don't know that it's this year, but the Andre Couric experiment didn't work. Yeah, another experiment that didn't work was perhaps doling out extra money to superstars with the baseball team. So I want to discuss that. But first, let's get an idea of Tennessee's chances in the College World Series as Craig Cobb, former Tennessee pitcher, joins us now. We think we have Craig on. Craig, are you with us, sir?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. Yes, absolutely. I can't see you, but that's okay. And because I know you're a good-looking guy.
I've aged quite a bit, so these glasses, man, it's I'm about to be 40 here soon. So
I just turned 50. I'm like Molly Shannon from Saturday Night Live. I'm 50.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think of this? What do you think of this baseball team? And what did you think of last weekend? You would always like to dispatch a lower level opponent as quickly as possible to be as fresh as possible moving forward, but that didn't happen. Craig, why do you think that was the case?
I think Evansville was on a heater. They were scrappy, and their offense was obviously pretty good. I think playing 3 games probably wasn't ideal, but at the same time, you got your full rotation. All got game experience, and it got Xander, his best start of his career in a tough spot. So I mean, that should bode well for Omaha. Not everybody got to have their full rotation and game experience with super regional and your season on the line. So we were pushed a little bit and tested, but we responded extremely well, and I think it was great to get Seacrest that experience, because he really had a great game, and he should carry a ton of confidence going into Omaha after that.
Now, I think this entire team is confident, but not cocky. Or maybe they were 2 years ago, as far as mindset compared to a couple of years ago with that team that was so exciting and so scintillating in many different ways. How would you compare the two?
I think this one, the offense was pretty experienced and, older in 22, but the pitching was all pretty young. First year guys, Beam and Burns were freshmen. They might have hit a little wall there at the end. But I think they were all kind of played off of Gilbert and Beck and how fiery those guys were, and Lipsius to a degree, which is great. I mean, they were fun to watch. They were, a fantastic team. I think this team is old all over the board. The entire offense, other than Curley, are all, second, third, fourth, fifth year guys. The pitching staff is kind of the same way. There's no freshman you're relying on. Everybody is older and experienced. So I think they are very businesslike, and I think Coach Vitello and Coach Anderson have, kind of reined it in as well in a good way. I just think they're kind of all more experienced and have learned from maybe what was a flaw of the 22 team.
I want to go back to something that Tony Vitello said about how if you're coming to have your handout, Tennessee's not the place for you, referring to NIL. Everybody has their handouts to some extent nowadays, and who can blame them? But that almost sounded like he was I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I think you know what I'm talking about. That almost sounded like he was referencing a big name NIL transfer that they got that never really panned out.
I think that's probably more referenced on culture.
Okay.
I mean, when I first started hearing about NIL, I was thinking, man, this probably would have been a disaster back in my day. I just can't imagine how some of our guys would have, been chasing NIL dollars, and I could see that being the context in the locker room and whatnot. And I could see how that could, really divide a locker room and create some animosity there. So I've always been curious how that would work, but this team all seems to gel. And, if you got one or two guys that are out there worried more about, where their next, sponsorship's coming from versus taking care of business on the field, that can poison a locker room. So that's my guess, being almost 20 years removed. I could see how that would be an issue. And that's the way I took his comments is, hey, we're here to get you better and get to the next level. Obviously NIL comes with it at this point, to some degree, but that's not what's going to be first and foremost. We want a good fit. We want a good ball player that we can get better, but more importantly, just fits with our culture here. So that's the way I took it.
What are some of the keys in this ball game against Florida State?
I think just continuing to do what we've been doing. It'd be great to not get down early. It'd be great to jump on them early. I'm not sure if they're going to throw their number one or not. He's been throwing game 2, kind of like Beam has all year. So it'll be interesting to see if they switch it up. But I really think just, keep it close early. If their ace does throw, try to make him throw pitches. He doesn't really walk a lot of guys. He strikes out a lot of guys. Try to get to their bullpen. He's clearly their best pitcher. So I think as long as you can keep their very good offense in check, we should be competitive with anybody out here. I think we're the favorite. We've got the best pitching and the best offense left. I just think you got to not go out there and shoot yourself in the foot with errors and walks and kind of play your game and put pressure on the other teams.
So if you have a question for Craig Cobb, former Tennessee pitcher and all-around great guy, go ahead and post it on the message board now, and we'll throw it to him. Tennessee in the College World Series Friday night against Florida State. And what are some keys to this upcoming game as you see it? I know you said just kind of keep doing what they're doing, but who are some guys that maybe could step up and kind of take Tennessee to a different level?
Oh man. It'd be great if, I know we've been rolling out Stamos there early. It'd be great if he could get, maybe one time through the order, scoreless. Obviously he didn't have a great outing versus Northern Kentucky and forced Causey to come in super early. So that, wasn't ideal. He had a great first inning versus Evansville, and then, started to get hit a little bit. We brought in Causey. So I think if you could maybe get him, one full time through the order, and then bring in Causey to kind of close it out, that would be great. But I mean, the offense is really, there's not really much to say about the offense. I mean, it's kind of clicking like it has all year. Defense, just play a clean game. We kind of had some jitters there against Evansville Sunday, some pretty routine plays that we made errors on. So, can't be giving those away. But I guess if I had to pick one guy, it would be maybe Stamos for this first game.
If as the media, we look at things and say, well, a number 1 seed hasn't won the College World Series in 25 years or something like that. And I'm curious, does that creep in the heads of players or competitors? I mean, are you aware of things like that? Does it put pressure on you, or is that something that stupid redheaded sports people say?
I don't think so, but I don't really think so. And I think this team had that target on their back. A lot of these guys did on the 22 team. Burke and Moore and Sechrist and Kirby, and I mean, there's like 10 of them. Inslee were all on that team. I think Tears and Dreiling were part of that team as well. I think they probably got to experience that, and that team definitely had a different target on its back. So they've experienced that, and I think they've had a target on their back ever since, just with how boisterous that team was, right? So I think that's kind of, they've been carrying that for the last 2 years plus. So I think they're used to that sort of pressure, and it doesn't really seem like it gets to these guys.
Yeah, good point. Hit that like and subscribe button. We greatly appreciate that. Again, like and subscribe. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Anytime you have a guy that's young, and Tony Vitello is 45 years old, and a guy that has had success, and he's had success, there's going to be other programs that make a run at that type of guy. The talk had been Texas. What is your take, being around Tony Vitello as much as you have, as far as his loyalty to Tennessee? Because most coaches are mercenaries. I mean, they are. And so I'm always of the side of I'll believe it when I see it if a guy stays, as opposed to a mega $1 million offer. But I feel like Tony Vitello is genuinely in love with Knoxville and East Tennessee. What do you think?
I would tend to agree. I don't know Coach Vitale that well. I've been around him a handful of times, but from the people I know that are around him, I would tend to agree. I think there probably is some loyalty there with Tennessee being his first head coaching job. And there's probably a sense of not quite done yet. Business isn't finished. The program was a cellar dweller for a decade before he got here. So, it was in really bad shape, and he's, in year 2, he's in a regional, something they hadn't done since 2005. They were going to be really good during COVID. And ever since then, they've won a couple SEC championships and tournament championships, and have now gone to Omaha 3 out of the last 4 years. I think winning the whole thing is his goal. And so I would like to think he would probably stick around here until he does. And I would like to think that we would open the pocketbooks to to make him stick here with all the stadium improvements that are kind of a result of the success that he's brought around here. I think the fan base would be heartbroken if we didn't do everything we could to keep him, if there was a life-changing offer on the table.
Well, I know football's football, right? And Lane Kiffin, that was obviously an A-bomb that went off in the middle of Tennessee's campus, which is maybe a little bit before your time. I know you're a younger guy, but this would be second to that, in my opinion. In the time I've covered Tennessee, if he up and bolted, it would be second. And it would be third would be distant. I guess Kevin O'Neal leaving to go to Marquette. Maybe I'm really showing my age now. He kind of left in the middle of the night. But this would be incredibly hurtful. So let's hope that doesn't happen. All right. Craig, do you want to make a prediction, or do you want us to get you on next week when Tennessee's about to win a championship?
Let's do that. Let's hold a prediction for the finals. How about that?
I like it. Craig, thank you, sir. I appreciate you, buddy.
All right. Thanks.
Craig Cobb. Love talking to that guy. Oh, man. He used to be an intern, and now he's almost 40 years old. You realize how old that makes me feel? My goodness. Tennessee with some game times announced coming up next. Hang tight. 2 minutes. Off the Hook Sports.
All-wheel drive, $31,954. 24 Ford Edge, all-wheel drive, $37,975. 24 F-250 4x4 Crew Cab, $54,760. Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co. What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do, to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Who?
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Welcome back. Got some more news, a newsy Wednesday all of a sudden, as got some game times we want to get to, game time windows. So this is the way it's going to work nowadays. It used to work where Tennessee would set its kickoff times 2 weeks out. They would set some in September so you could make some plans of lesser opponents. But this is the way that it's going to work out now, where you will have a game time window. So you don't have to worry that there could be that 6-day CBS exception that could push a noon game to a 7:30 game or vice versa. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. So here are the game windows. The SEC announced the kickoff times for the first 3 games on Tennessee's 2024 schedule recently. The home game against UTEP is a 1 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. I know a lot of you don't like 1 o'clock times, but I think getting UTEP out of the way and having that little few extra hours to recover in the evening is something significant. I know that sounds crazy. 5 of the Vols games are currently listed as flex games, meaning they'll be late afternoon or night games, while 3 of the SEC games during the second half of the season are now locked into game time windows. All right, so Tennessee's home game, November 2nd against Kentucky, and November the 9th against Mississippi State have been chosen as night games. I like that. Now, as a media member, I would prefer every game be at noon. But for the betterment of the program, night game is going to get you more exposure. So I think that's good for Tennessee. Kentucky and Mississippi State, those games were played at noon. They'd have very little sizzle. Now they have a little bit of sizzle because they're going to be played at night. So they will be that game will kick off between 6 and 8 o'clock Eastern time. The Vols' regular season finale, November 30th at Vanderbilt, is scheduled for an early start as well. Kickoff between Tennessee and in-state rival Commodores will be set for some time between noon and 1 o'clock Eastern time. So the marquee games are listed as flex games. Do you like this better? Let me hear from you on the message board your thoughts. Some of the marquee games on the Vols schedule that are listed as flex games include the SEC opener, September 21st at Oklahoma. Their home games, October 12th against Florida, October the 19th against Alabama. Their visit to Georgia, November the 16th. Tennessee's game at Arkansas on October the 5th is also listed as a flex game, which means that the kickoff will be scheduled for either 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern time afternoon window or the 6 to 8 Eastern window. So basically, here is what we know. That the lower level opponents, such as UTEP, such as Chattanooga, are going to be played early in the day. They're going to be your early games. And then many of your big games are going to be night games. So what do you think of that? And I will give you my one directive that I would ask for if Tennessee, Alabama, or the SEC ask me, and that is the Tennessee-Alabama game needs to be 3:30. Okay? There have been a lot of changes. There needs to be some tradition still. And if Georgia-Auburn, which is the longest played rivalry in the SEC, if it needs some sort of concession to keep its tradition intact, then do so. Because we're taking an awful lot of tradition and chucking it by the wayside. So I want the Tennessee-Alabama game to be at 3:30. Other than that, I'm happy with the schedule. Now, if Travis says every game should be a night game through Halloween just for temperature reasons, well, that makes a lot of sense. I guess sometimes noon could be maybe a little bit cooler, but not very much. Any other problems you might have with the schedule, as I think it falls pretty favorably for Tennessee. Let's remember this. Who remembers the LSU game in 2022? What happened in that game? Tennessee blew LSU's doors completely off. Why did they do that? Well, mistakes in the beginning by LSU. But remember this, that LSU practices in the afternoon. Tennessee practices in the morning. So my only concern with this schedule is if you have a bunch of night games. I have had players tell me before in the past that they don't like night games because you have to wait around, especially on the road, all day for the game to be played. So if there is any one thing I would nitpick based off the schedule, it would be that. But let's be honest, you want those games in prime time. It's best for the program. Arthur says Georgia should be a night game. Alabama should be slated for 1 o'clock. I don't know. I don't know why you would want Alabama at 1 o'clock. Georgia, a night game. Georgia to me is should be a 3:30 game. The question that I have for ESPN is, what are you going to turn into your premier game? Is it going to be the 3:30 game? Are you going to be like Fox and you're going to push your noon kickoff game? Where are you putting your premier game? What are you trying to promote? Saturday's interesting. And for my days in covering NASCAR and college football, I can tell you that Saturday night numbers and ratings are tough to get on an average football game. So they may be factoring that in as well, as Tennessee will play Mississippi State and Kentucky. What kind of numbers does that draw remains to be seen. And I want to give him a shout out. Something that was brought up by Will West is I'm going to change gears to baseball for just a second because we're going to be joined by Zach Kerr. We're going to talk College World Series as he's able to give us reports there. So one thing that Will West of the Sports Animal pointed out with Tony Botello, and we talked about the potential of him perhaps taking another job. I don't think it's Botello's money that could be the issue. I think it's NIL money that could be the issue. Because here's what you have to remember. There are a lot of programs that are not going to take any money away from baseball, or I'm sorry, from football, a revenue sport, and give it to baseball, which is traditionally a non-revenue sport. They're just not going to do that. That's not how you run a business. But Texas has all that oil money that they can pay in NIL. So do you have to rob Peter a little bit to pay Paul? Do you let an offensive guard slip between the cracks because you have to pay the best center fielder in the nation? Here is a possible remedy to that via Will West. And I like this halfway. Build some sort of complex in which you would give all of that money strictly to baseball NIL. And I love that, but I want to be really careful with the naming rights because that's where you would generate the revenue. I have a strong problem with Thompson Bowling being the Food City Center. Thompson and Bowling, those two had an agreement that stadium, that arena the name would never be changed. And now it's basically been changed. I think that's a shame. And I think that lacks tradition. And I think in college, you shouldn't have naming rights to stadiums, but that's me. Now, could you do something at Lindsey Nelson without taking away Lindsey Nelson? Because I'm in broadcasting. I got a lot of respect for Lindsey Nelson, who was a play-by-play guy for the Mets. For those that don't know, play-by-play guy for Tennessee. He was John Ward before he was John Ward, but was even more successful from a national perspective. You can't mess with that. I don't want it to be the Food City Center showcasing the Lindsey Nelson press box or Lindsey Nelson Stadium. You can't have that. I'm up for suggestions on how to raise revenue because this is going to be an NIL thing, college baseball more than anything. If you want to go out there and spend money on NIL, if you think that's a worthwhile pursuit, and that's up to you, I'd argue it doesn't make as much money as football. But if that's what you want to do, then go do it as an athletic director because you can win. You can buy a championship in baseball. There's no doubt about it because most of the programs don't place a heavy emphasis on it. Tennessee's not going to place as much of an emphasis on it as perhaps some schools because football is where the bread is buttered. So do you take anything away from football? Do you build something else for Tony Vitello to raise NIL money? Because that's concerned. Travis says, hell, now they're allowed to put products on the actual field, though. I'm 100% okay if we have a French's mustard bottle or golf ball on the 25. Okay. Would you be okay with a Sam and Andy's label on the jersey? Because I think that's happening. And I don't think that's far away from happening either. Zach Hare is going to join us from Sports Treasures, give us a little bit of insight on the incredible promotions and signings that he has coming up. Plus, we are also going to talk to him about Tony Vitello, his popularity, because it is absolutely through the roof, and nobody would know better about that popularity than Zach from Sports Treasure. So hang tight, 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Experience it all at Varner Ford in Clinton. Need a quick fix or maintenance? Visit our Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center. Keep your Ford running smoothly with the experts in our service department. Ready for your next Ford? Our sales team is here to guide you to this 24 Ford Escape all-wheel drive, $31,954. 24 Ford Edge all-wheel drive, $37,975. 24 F-250 4x4 Crew Cab, $54,760. Local you trust, experience you can afford. Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show.
Who?
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Arthur says on the message board, NIL as part of advertising, putting a name on the player's jersey would help. Who's paying the athlete? So I think he means wouldn't help. Well, now that money would have to be funneled to the players in some shape, form, or fashion. And listen, they're going to be able to do that if they have the leverage that they've had to this point. They're going to be able to say, hey, that's my jersey. You're putting it on mine. I get a piece of that. And they are going to get a piece of that. Now, my question is, do you have a problem with that? Because I watch the Braves on occasion, and they have that big yellow thing on their right arm. I don't know. It's just a concrete company, I think. Would you have a problem with Tennessee putting advertising logos on their jerseys? Would that bother you? Let me get your thoughts on the message board. Wouldn't bother me if it was very minimal. Like I'm talking maybe back of the neck or something different. I don't want to see it displayed like it is on the Braves thing. I think that looks awful. Hey, speaking of great shirts, check this out. I got my new gear in, and it's awesome. It's from Apex Apparel Group Design. Right below is Tyler's number, 865-919-3001, 865-919-3001. They've got koozies, shirts, not just clothes. They design, brand, and market. That's Apex Apparel Group Design. Apex Apparel Group Design. 15% off your first order. If you mention Off the Hook Sports, 15% off your first order. Your company needs this. I can promise you that. We're joined now by a very special guest. First, I want to tell you, we certainly appreciate Don Self. Don Self, customer service still matters. For over 40 years, they built their business on taking care of their customers in the greater Chattanooga area. Call 423-396-2126 or donself.net, donself.net. Zach here joins us from Sports Treasures. Zach, how are you, sir? As I'm struggling with my camera. There,
You're
I've
good.
got it working finally. Okay, my goodness. How are you?
There we go. Zoomed in there.
There you go. Yeah. College World Series, obviously a monstrous deal. But I'm curious, you were around the card industry 2 years ago, too. How would you compare the excitement level to that 2022 team that was just so exciting and scintillating and sensational to this team that has every bit the talent, but is probably a little bit more by the book?
Yeah. So between the two teams, I kind of almost compare them to your 97, 98 football team. 97 has all the talent, had a lot of talent, should have probably gotten there, had the opportunity to, and didn't. And then 98 was just a team. I mean, there was a bunch of guys that came together as a team, and that's kind of how I feel about this one. There were a lot of personalities on the 22 team. A lot of the same players. Christian Moore was a key part of the 22 team as well. Blake Burke coming off the bench is DHing some for us. Beam was your Sunday starter. I feel like a lot of those guys now, they have that team feels like we've been here before. In 22, their attitude was a lot different. I feel like they had the personalities, like I said, and this team feels more like a cohesive team. I've said for the last couple of months now, I think this team would beat the 22 team in a 3-game series.
Wow, interesting. That'd certainly be a fun game to watch. Hey, you keep up with college baseball more than I do. What do you make of the field in general? Is there an elite team or a bunch of good teams? What do you think of the top end?
From what I've seen this year on Tennessee's half of the bracket, I think their toughest test on that half is going to be Friday night. Florida State's got a top 10 pitcher next year's draft going. And, so if you can get by him, I like how we match up with UNC and Virginia on our half. I think the toughest team there is probably A&M, but they lost one of their big players in their super regional. He got hurt. I haven't seen recently what the injury was, but I know they took him out in an air cast with a collision at the plate. So
usually an air cast isn't a good sign.
No, but I think that would be your toughest test. If you get Tennessee A&M, that's probably the two best teams there. But it's especially in baseball, anything can happen on about any given day. But luckily, it is double elimination. I think this team is mature enough that if they do lose one, they're not going to pack it in and say, "Oh well, it's us," and come back to Knoxville. I think they'll get back together, kind of like we saw this past weekend. Got caught back up on the 9th inning on Saturday, and then came out Sunday like a firecracker and kept it rolling the whole game.
Interesting. So do you think it's a big deal avoiding the losers bracket, or with this team?
Yes, I do. The College World Series not as much, because you do have a built-in day off the first several days till you get there. But the way it's set up, kind of looking, like I said, Florida State's got a really good pitcher. Well, if Florida State were to win on Friday and they keep winning with the day's rest, there's a good possibility he could pitch against Tennessee again 4 or 5 days later in a game that Tennessee would have to again win not to be eliminated. So I think it's obviously you always want to keep winning, because if you win, if I remember correctly, if you win to get the championship series, you only have to win 3 games. Whereas if you lose that first day, you could be looking at, I think, a minimum of 5 games to get back into the championship series. So that could, and towards the end of the when you get down to those 4 to 6 team range left, you do start playing every day as well. So I think it is key to get those rest days. Just treat the first half of the College World Series like a 3-game set, and then treat the championship series like a 3-game set.
Great stuff as always, Zach. I know you've got some things coming up, some signings at the store you can't tell us about yet, but they'll be there, and we'll be glad to promote it however we can.
Yep.
Your store is just absolutely awesome. So people have got to get by the selection. And I was there yesterday. I was stopping by to pick up our Tony Vitello ball that we're going to be giving away later this week. And Zach is just, you can tell he loves his work because he's spending time with this young man. I guess he was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and showing him cards. And it was just, it harkens back to nostalgic days for me, Zach. I love your store. If you ever have like an open apartment, I might just move in.
Sounds good. Yeah. I got a few things coming. Hopefully can announce soon. As always, we post social media, everything. Probably the biggest thing right now is top Series 2 baseball comes out today. So whenever UPS shows up, we'll have that on the shelf.
Oh, cool. Well, people need to go to Facebook, follow Sports Treasures TN, and they'll get the updates. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yep. Have a good day. Thanks.
Zach here, Sports Treasures. How good is he? Man, that store, it's like some old timey stuff. Like they've got, I remember I saw a Roger Staubach like sweater jersey, and I'm thinking about digging through there to see if I can find that one again. But I've gotten all kinds of gifts from Sports Treasures. They're just that awesome, man. They're super cool to work with, great people, and absolutely love them. Coming up, speaking of Sports Treasures, we're going to be giving away some stuff. Eventually, we're going to give away this Tony Vitello autographed College World Series baseball. I'm going to tell you how to win it right after this. Hang tight. This is a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Experience it all at Varner Ford in Clinton. Need a quick fix or maintenance? Visit our Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center. Keep your Ford running smoothly with the experts in our service department. Ready for your next Ford? Our sales team is here to guide you to this 24 Ford Escape all-wheel drive, $31,954. 24 Ford Edge all-wheel drive, $37,975. 24 F-250 4x4 Crew Cab, $54,760. Local you trust, experience you can afford. Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
you're just tuning in, earlier in the program, we gave you a breakdown of Tennessee's matchup in the College World Series, their draw, Florida State, also Tennessee's official visitors, and the Vols do pick up a commitment, Jaden Lofton, a 4-star commitment out of New Jersey. So kudos for him, an edge pass rusher. I think it's a big get. I think Tennessee, a pretty small official visit weekend last weekend, made some hay. So that's pretty darn impressive. Now, this weekend will be absolutely monstrous. I'll tell you what else is monstrous is the stuff we give away, because we love giving stuff away, and we're going to do it right now. So here is how this works, and it's pretty simple. So you have to be a member of Hooker's Corner, and that is very easy. And once you sign up right there, you can use that code, whatever thing that is, or how you use it, I don't know. But you can use the code, or you can sign up to Hooker's Corner, and I will gladly put the link right in there so that you can join. If you join, then you're going to win a fantastic prize eventually, because we give so much stuff away that everybody's going to win. So let's go ahead and do the spinning for, oops, we got the right, here we go. I feel good about this. All right, let's do the spinning now, as you'll have to pardon me. I'm working through some technical difficulties, as Caleb Calhoun's just going to have to come back. All right, here we go. All right, so we've got it up, and we're going to go ahead and share the screen. We're going to go ahead and show you the place where we can actually do this thing. All right, there we go. So we're gonna spin the wheel. You can join right there. Hooker's Corner. You will win a T-shirt just for joining. You will receive a T-shirt just for joining, and you will be eligible to win our grand prize. We're giving away prizes every day this week, because last week we were off. So we want to make sure that you get taken care of. Smoky Mountain Red won yesterday. Let's give her a roll. Looks like Tennessee Junior. Congratulations. That is our winner. And then on Friday, I want to remind everyone that we'll be giving away the autographed baseball right here. You've got to get signed up. Again, that is the key. Just sign up, our Patreon group, and you can get exclusive recruiting coverage. You can also have more interaction with me and Caleb when he gets back from his maternal or paternal leave. So we would love for you to join that, be a part of the program. You'll get a T-shirt just for joining. We got some NCAA, those T-shirts coming out of the pipe we can hook you up with. So just join, get a T-shirt, and know that you can win big-time prizes like this Tony Vitello College World Series autographed baseball. Pretty awesome. Thank you very much, Stacey Oliver. Thank you very much, Zach Air with Sports Treasures. Craig Cobb, former Vol. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation